Greetings and salutations. This is Rick Copple, coming at you from Denver, Colorado. And once again, this is another episode of ArcoLinux Security Guide. Today we're going to look at ArcoLinux's first two window managers, which is Awesome and Bspwm. Yeah, a couple of things I need to mention before I start. I used ArcoLinux because it automatically configures and it has better configurations for things out of the box. Most of the window managers, if you install them, you have to make your own configuration file. Also, if you're interested in looking at the install of ArcoLinux that I did earlier, description as well as a link for all the window manager websites will be down in the description below. So one of the things though is we're not going to be reviewing ArcoLinux as itself. We're not going to be going through what programs are installed on it. Saw that last time, other than a few things that apply to this distribution. And specifically, it's the first time I may go in a little bit more in depth on an Awesome Window Manager, just because we won't be looking at all the programs every time or any of that kind of stuff. It'll be just the window manager itself, pretty much. How it's set up, what positives it has, negatives, that kind of thing. So those will be looking at configuration files, that kind of thing. How it's configured. Not going to be getting deep dive into the configuration files, but just kind of brief overview of them, where things you want to change might be at, that kind of thing, key bindings, those kind of things. We'll look at all that, and we'll get started with Awesome Window Manager first up. Okay, let's go to our screen, look at it. Okay, this Awesome Window Manager, out of the box, what it looks like pretty much when you put it into a computer. That's pretty nice, isn't it? Now the conky there, you can add that in. Now you can toggle it on and off, but it pops up automatically each time unless you go into the auto start file and disable it. So now you don't install conky to begin with, it won't show up. It won't be there. You can do whichever you want on that, however you want it. Now on this virtual machine, I did have to make some adjustments. The auto start file into the conky to make it look right. How it looks when you install on a real machine. Because all this was too big print up here. I had to figure out how to go in and change the edit file. I'll say that real quick in a minute. But yeah, I had to change that. Also increase the size on this somewhat. It was real small to begin with. Now it's a little bit bigger. You can see it a little bit more. Also installed Kitty on this, so that I'll have a terminal I like, and I'll show you that, as well as I changed some key bindings on here for Rofi from Super F12 to Super Super D. Now I'm going to show you the conky file, how I change that up a bit. Now by default it uses Super Enter or Super T to open a terminal. And so that's Kitty there that I installed in there. Now let me show you configuration files. They're all located in config. Awesome. Now you notice there's an auto start file there that you can edit with Nano or whatever program you like to use. SH, autostart.sh. That's where if you want to auto start something, you can put it in there. I'll show you that in a minute. It's basically a batch file, so it's easy to work with. Now most of these files though are going to be Lua files, so rc.lua is your main configuration file. And it has a script or two. System overview is a file you need to edit to look at your conky information. So we'll look at that real quick. Here you can see there's a lot of stuff in here. Conky various settings, background, true. Right there's where I set the size for the conky text. You also change the type of font face if you have it in your system, all that kind of good stuff. So that's how it looks. Now when I installed it on the my testing computer over here, it worked with no problems out of the box. I mean, Conky did, and so did the screen resolution. And here, and so when I set that, it started looking more like this. So I'll show you in a minute when we get to Bspwm's review. We'll see what it looked like before I did this little fix on it. Yeah, let's look at AutoStart real quick. You can see what I did there. Now, yeah, that's where I set my resolution in the AutoStart, so start up every time with my resolution. Now, by default, this comes with FEH installed. You'll notice when I did the install, if you looked at it, that I installed nitrogen on here too. So I have run nitrogen restore set there. And I was commented out, and FEH was uncommented. There's also another way you can do new wallpapers aside from this and here. You notice it has a comment here, you can set wallpapers and themes as well. Aha. It's what I've done on my other machine over here. And it has some interesting themes and wallpaper. It's kind of cool. Now, here we also have XFCE 4 Power Manager. That's what I think it defaults to. It comes with. It runs that. Varieties, another way you can say your wallpapers. Also, applet. Applet. Yeah, so all these are defaults that come with it, how it's set up. On that change, I put a comment over FPJ, uncommented nitrogen, restore, so that when it logs in first time from your display manager, lane, themes is what you need to look at here. Now multicolor is one and defaults two out of the box. That's what that one is. It's up there. You can tell because it's all this multicolor stuff. You have other ones you can use too. And all these have their own backgrounds with them as well. Like you can go to see wallpaper.jpg is the theme, and that's when it shows up on the main screen there that you see. So you can change your theme settings in theme.lua here. Repeat that. Yeah, right here you say your theme font and your theme tag list font. That's set to 1415 in this virtual machine. So that's what it looks like up there. I think in a real machine it comes out bigger than this, so you have to be careful about that. But yeah, you can tell, even though I have this one set 1 point lower than this one, these do. These look smaller than this does. Strange, huh? So yeah, when you do this, you can see the various things up here. You got your download and upload speeds on your network. You got 62% volume, which was increased when I punched the keys on it. You have this much memory cooking. You have this much percentage of CPU being used. And you got this. The only thing I haven't figured out is where to find the clock information, so you can change it to PM and AM if you wanted it that way. Now it also has a bottom bar built in this too, which displays where you're at and also what layout you're using right now in dynamic tile layouts. Look at those in a minute. But yeah. So here's where you can set your backgrounds. Yes, I set it that. Yeah, you can uncomment this. Then you should use your background wallpaper that comes with a theme. And if you just theme the wallpaper, then use ArcoLinux with the nitrogen in there. So let's try that out for fun, huh? Let's see what that'll do. So save that. Now, I don't know if it's any different, if it's awesome or what. Awesome, man. Let's see. Now, I kind of looked at the other ones. Power Arrow Blue is pretty cool. I like that one. It's got a nice background with it. You like that? I'm going to take time to look at each of these themes and show you that generally the themes are set the same way in there. And so CD. Very awesome, okay? Yeah, I'm going to comment out nitrogen on here. So we'll run that. Now here's two things you do. You reset it. Now I don't know if this would happen the same way in real machine, but this virtual machine makes all your text bigger. I'll show you. Shift Super, the key, whatever you want to call it. R is restart your window manager environment. And see all the things showed up big up there for some weird reason. But the only thing you do here, you have to go to log out. Log back in. Then there's the actual wallpaper from background image from the theme itself all over there. And I just noticed all these changed back to the way they were. Yeah. So that's how that works. Now I haven't tried it on here. Let me try it over here real quick. I can't tell when I did the same thing over here when I started on my real machine that's installed on. It changed the size any bit. It certainly didn't make it as big as that did. So it must have something to do with the virtual machine issue. So yeah, on a real machine it'll stay about the same size generally when you restart. So you can restart, but on a virtual machine you have to log out, log back in, and make any changes. So like the conky there, I would go in and change it, but I'm probably not going to use this one again much. So I'm going to leave it there for now. So you can see what it looks like. Also, I think this conky is kind of useless to a certain degree. Control Shift Escape Control. Okay. We have a task manager. Okay. That's interesting. There's your memory. The thing. So some of these work, and some of them work, but some of them don't like. So some of these like change your layout, this space. So these conky, but after you get used to it, you'll know these, so you don't need the conky there at all the time. It might be helpful, but there's some that's even more helpful. You can pull up anytime you want just by clicking, that's super key and S, pulls up the screen. This isn't static either, it pulls all the key bindings from your Lua file, rc.lua file. So like I created some applications, like I changed, like the one that was F12, the Rofi, Super D Rofi. That was Super 12, it was over here in function keys. So I'll show you in a minute how to change that. So anyway, I changed Super D, but anyway, it's dynamic. You change something in there and then it reads it, it pulls it right up. But so you really don't need this that much. Only interesting information it gives you what you already get up here too. That's your only thing it tells us not there is your root disk usage. What size of your disk is and how much you've used. Which probably can get that up here too if you want to adjust the bar. However, this is pretty useful out of the box. I wrote this up here, so Thundar File Manager. First one, there it is. And you can do everything like you normally want to and whatever. You can also do Nemo and other file managers on here as well. So far I haven't had any problems with any of them. You might at some point, who knows, but my experience has been pretty good. All the things work pretty well out of the box. So, one of the things you say, how do I close this sucker? Well, aside from one or two odd ways, you also just press your key binding for it, which is Super Q. I've made it. So the thing, the default key binding on this was close window was Super Shift C. So when you go into yours, that's what it'll be probably until you change it. I changed it to Q because it's more natural for me to do that. I'll change that. But also, if you wanted to go up here to File, I'm sure you can close it through the menu here. Close window. Control Q will also close it up here as well. We'll close the tab, which I believe will close your whole program. Yeah. Control W will close it unless you have multiple tabs and it'll close the tab you're on. Control Q will close the whole window. And Super Q in the system will close the window too. So there's like 3 or 4 ways you can close it if you wanted to. Now these are your workspaces up here. 1 to the or all the way to 10. Super 5 will move you to the 5th one. Super 8. Super 7. Back to Super 1. And I believe you start a program, it'll come in full screen. As long as you have this set down here to Tiling Window Manager, it'll come like that. I got master and stack on here. It's got nice little gaps between them all that, so it's nice. It works pretty well like that. Now, if you want to change your layout, you just push down Super key and hit spacebar. And you can change it to this, which I think is a floating window manager for one of them. Or you can change where your master's on the right instead of the left side, or on the top, or on the bottom. Also, this is tabbed down here. See all these tabs? Move between tabs like that. This is one, master's on top and all the slaves are at the bottom. Slaves. We're back to master stack. Now there's other ones that you can uncomment in the Lua file if you notice. We'll go into in a minute. Take a peek at that. Let's do that. First let's close out some of these extra ones. Oh, RC column. Now, first parts require libraries that it has to have for it to work good. Then you got your error handling. It actually has a good error handling thing in that if it detects you have an error in your configuration file that it won't work otherwise, instead of crashing and burning and spitting you back out and not letting you back in, as a default it can revert back to where it was before. That's pretty cool. That way you can still operate even if you have a crash or you don't screw up the file. You can always fix it somehow. Now down here is where you have your local themes. 1, 2, 3, 4 multicolor, which is default one that it uses. Power Arrow, Power Blue, and Blackburn. Some of these, in order to use the default theme that comes with the different themes, you actually have to go in and uncomment like we did out of the multicolor, where you have to go in and uncomment out the wallpaper setting for it. But yeah, so Power Blues is pretty cool and I like that one. We'll give that a chance. Now how you change it, come down here and get 3 there. Pick third one and choose your theme, and then it sets it down here automatically. Chosen theme. Okay. Here set your mod key to mod 4. If you wanted to change to a different key, you could. You can change mod 1, which is Alt key. You can change that and switch them around if you wanted. Make the Alt key something totally different, like Z or A or Q or however you wanted to do it, you know. So, then your control key, mod 1 key. And so that's default. So if you want to use control or your mod 4 key, you can use mod key or mod key 1 or Alt key. Now the next variable that sets up is going to be like your defaults for programs you use. So yeah, you follow all of these. Apparently the browser likes to install, but I just installed Firefox, and Chromium I think is on the machine out in the living room. So Firefox is browser number 2, so I had to go and change all the browser 1 where key bindings and stuff like that. Change it to be browser 2 instead of browser 1. Here's where you put your editor in of choice, as well as your GUI editors right here, Atom. Now it says it won't bring up anything on this machine because I didn't install Atom on it. I know it was going to be the default. I would have installed it. Used Atom before, I like it pretty well. It's a nice thing. Here's where you put your file manager. You have like PC, Man, FM. You can replace that there with that. Thunderbird instead of Evolution, replace that with that. Spotify. Here's where I replaced Kitty. It did have the one with all the letters on it. UX, blah blah blah. Top terminal. Replace with a key. Now what I did here too is I made another one on my other. I can't remember which one I did on a testing computer or out in the living room. So Awesome out there is just a straight command line entry. I want to see how hard it was. See what the difference was between a standard Awesome install. And this does put in a lot of extra stuff you have to start from raw file, or at least copy the Lua file over from another directory over to your configuration directory if you want to use it. But anyway, I installed I made another variable called local word processor, and I made it equal to LibreOffice -- writer. It worked just fine on my testing computer over there. So that's how you can do that. So you have to set this variable here if you want it to be a default. And you have to go down and you have to enter a key binding for it. Bring it up. Now this is interesting. Some computers, this just shows little square blanks on the tag names. that show up here. That's what these are. But some computers aren't able to show that, so you just see little squares there, rectangles, whatever you want to call them. But that's what they're there, what shows up there. So if you like different tag names, like you wanted to have this tag or this tag or this tag or that tag or this tag, so forth, you can edit and add your own tags in here. Just uncomment and comment this one back out. And here's all the layouts I was talking about. See, they have a whole slew of them that are commented out here. Now, by the way, in case you haven't figured it out in Lua, 2 dashes makes a comment. That's how you comment and uncomment things out, by pushing 2 dashes there in front of it. But that's not laid out, so that's one we looked at. Sweet magnifier. Max. Title, top, bottom left. Saw those floating. Title. So, yeah. But you can uncomment these and play around them to your heart's content and see what all they have. Then comment all of them, go through them all and see which ones you like the best. If you like different tiling, dynamic tiling, choose that. But the default's the most common one. Let's say, so you have your tag list buttons and stuff like that. Now let's go down a bit. There's your screen setting. Here's your key bindings. So it's right here. And each one has 2 lines on it. Like super key binding. And your awful key, dot mod key, F1. You have this, which does the hard work of the adjusting browser. See, this is put browser 1, which is Baldy, which of course I didn't use, but if you did, it would be that, and then you can change it. Like down here, you notice it's where I changed Ropey. At F12 there, I changed the mod key D after I checked to make sure there's no other mod key D in here. Do that 2 ways. You need to do searches on your file to make sure there's no other mod key in there. Or you can bring up your Super S screen and scan through it and see if you see anything else labeled. Because like I say, it's dynamic screen here. Change it. Let's change one of these keys and you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, let's say we're going to change our mail client. I know it conflicts with mod key T, which is the way to bring up the other way to bring up a terminal other than mod key enter. But let's see, this string is some string that is not probably used anywhere. Mod key, let's use a bracket. Okay, so that should bring up your mail client, whatever that is. Now, what you want to do in the description, though, is this is your mail client. So what it'll show is your description. Now, group is where it puts it. Now, you notice the function key group. You notice the groups that are on there. So it appears right here, function keys. So we change this. Evolution is the default mail client. So yeah, you change it to F9. And you want to put in a different thing because you don't want to leave it function keys or it's not a function key on it anymore, right? So what you do then is you go over here and you put it in client, or you can put it in super key, which is where I put Ropey. or you can set up a new one altogether, like application. We'll do that just to demonstrate. I'll pop it in here somewhere. Okay. So application. Whenever you type there, it'll come up. Okay. So there's lots of key bindings here, as you can see by the screen brought up. Now let's go to the widgets, menu bar, rules to apply to clients. Rules are like, you always want a certain reference to always show up floating or something. Then you can do that by putting a rule for it in there. And yeah, so that's in the file right there. Now I noticed that you have some auto start application down here. It's where it pulls in the auto start sh file into here. Yeah. awful.spawn.with underline shell. You have that in there. And you can, like it does here, runs PyCom to compositor with the PyCom comp configuration. That's what gives it its transparent backgrounds on some of its stuff. So that's where it starts those. So then down at the bottom of the file. Yeah, 1053 lines thus far and growing. So let's save this. And we'll X out of here. Now we'll go X. And we'll log out by hitting Super X. Log out. And we'll log right back in. There it is. There's power blue we set it for. See how this looks different up here? Different theme, different theming background. I can like it. And here's your something else that's pretty much the same. But yeah, let's look at the bindings here and see where there's our application. Evolution moved over there now. I don't think I put evolution on there, so I'm not gonna worry about clicking it to show it works, but yeah. You put in, if you installed evolution or something like that, changed it to like that. Program, that's what we do. Show right there. And so however you want to set that up, you can. This F9's gone from here. There's no F9 no more, just like there's no F12. Bye bye. Now up here you see the memories that it says it's 263 megabytes memory there. Let's double check that by using htop. 263, huh? That says 367. So that might be underreported to make it look better, I don't know. That's on 329 though. Yeah, looks like it's about 30 megabytes difference, approximately. You see running CPU is 6%. It says about 6% of those. So that's about what I registered it as. Got Kitty running up to the top. Little H top, so that probably is why it's doing that. So let's go check out bspwm, see what the differences are. Alright, now we're back in there. Next, this is Bspwm, it looks like out of the box. And notice they have a little different icon sets over here. Windows, theming. Yeah. Because one of the things you can do is you can make it so that if you start up like Firefox, you always go to this #1 spot here. Start up your file manager, automatically starts up over in this one tag window. Call them tags, not workspaces. Here you have your kernel it's using, which is 510.6-1 LTS, a long-term support kernel. 65% volume. The memory is at 13%. CPU is at 1%, 2%, 1%, no, 0%. CPU percentage. Every day now, the interesting thing is the date format. That's all it changes though, not the time format. Also, when you clicked on it, it actually showed you a calendar. That was handy. And forgot to show that to you. There's your network, another volume thing. Doesn't have as much information as Awesome did, but it does have this, which Awesome didn't. So there you go. Now over here you see your clock. This is what it looked like in Awesome when I first installed it in the virtual box. My virtual GNOME boxes. And I guess it probably needs to be changed. And I showed you where I found that eventually. Took me a while to figure out where to go to, but I finally found it. Change it. So if you need to do that, you can do that. But yeah. And it had the same setup, except it has one major difference. Because Bspwm works off of batch files as its configuration file. Pure batch. That's what I mean here. And you see we have auto start, same. Your Bspwmrc file, which is where most of your stuff is at. And because it's a batch file, they don't really have a way to do key bindings, except you have to have third-party software to do it. So that's where the sxhkd file comes in. Now notice I used this before, this file, which could be handy if you wanted to set a key bindings be standard. You can set them the way you like them, and you just port it all over to whatever program you're using, to whatever window manager you're using. Except there's no themes over here. So what you get is what you got. Now you can change your wallpapers using nitrogen or look at this real quick. Now you see I have nitrogen restored there. There's where it automatically runs the sxhkd file and it points to the configuration file. And there's where it runs conky. So that's that. Okay. Now they use a program called BSPC that does most of the work of figuring the file, how it's going to look, how it's going to work. So you can see they have all these different configurations. And dual monitor, single monitor usage. Yeah, so you have to find out a name with xrandar or arandar to plug in here, you plug in the name of your monitor that you're using. If you have more than one, then it picks it up and puts it to the right monitor. So you can have different things for different workspaces, depending on what kind of space you have on your monitor. Here's where it establishes roles, full screen applications, and floating applications, tiled applications, and you can say that it's all commented out there with the number sign. But you can set any of these to where they'll open up automatically in workspace. So if you start Firefox, see, have Firefox open, it'll automatically go to desktop 1. It'll follow it there. You have Google Chrome, it'll go to desktop 1. You have Subtle Atom, if you open Atom, it'll go to desktop 2. Steam, desktop 5. VLC, desktop 6. So on and so forth. And that's, I think, external rules, polybar. I use a polybar for its bar up there. And that's it, pretty much that's the whole configuration file for it. So then you want to go to your system. You got your file to edit there, so there's your function keys, how it has them set up. Keyboard bindings for any Untitled Window Manager. Got them grouped into super function keys, super keys, same like that. If I wanted the row key to show up here, then all I have to do is move it. I'll have to move it down here, just change it where it sits. But I think to be. So what I did was I changed it here, changed it to Super D instead of Super F12, which is what I originally set up here for. Went ahead and added down here super keys so it stays in the same general category. But this doesn't have any kind of a dynamic screen that pops up like Awesome has that shows you your current key binding sets. So you have to remember them. Oh, it does have a conky. Yeah. I think I added this super views like Firefox, that kind of thing. Yeah, but most of the key bindings are ones I use anyway, so that's good. I don't know if that whole file, but anyway, that's. And the main thing is it doesn't have. It's a little more difficult, I think, for new users to use this, but it's not horrible. I mean, you can use it if you don't have to configure anything out of this. You can pretty much use it after you learn the key bindings. So, like, you were here, and let's edit that because I think it looked nicer when it's at 8 points instead of that. Okay, there's a nano system overview. And remember that you can do a search on it, and you can do font. We come right down there. So smaller size works better with this thing. And generally be able to hit Shift Control R to reset it. In this case, see, it looks nicer, doesn't it? You don't have to, if you change the conky thing, automatically changes whenever you save the file. You don't have to restart your system or anything to do that. And of course, you can change these numbers in the file somewhere. Yeah, I like Bspwm, but I think it's probably not good for your user. If you were interested in learning bash files more, you can use it, because it'll give you more experience through using those things. But I think for new users also would be easier to use. But like I say, you can use this out of the box as long as you learn the key bindings well. And you can always go to that key binding file. It's pretty easy to read. It's not as complicated as a programming language per se. Laid out pretty well. You can skip there, see what key bindings you have, in case you're wondering. Now, how do you change the background here? Yeah, you have to use nitrogen or FEH or one of those programs, because yeah, Bspwm doesn't have a way to change it in its own configuration file or themes. There's no theme files to show it in, that kind of thing. It does have a wall, so it probably has a way to do that in the configuration file somewhere that I missed. Yeah, it'll be your task to find out how to change your wallpapers Bspwm by scanning through the configuration file. Anyway, it's not a bad system. It works pretty well. Works pretty much like Awesome does. Has that configuration to it. Change your window managers. Giant selection of window manager layouts, but it's decent. And so there's Bspwm. Not much more to be said about it. So we'll go back and check out our spreadsheet on it. Now you're looking at my spreadsheet I made up. This is just for informational purposes mostly. Plus it gives me a way to evaluate a little bit more closely. Yeah, websites up here for Awesome and Bspwm. These are my qualifications I have for it. Operational out of the box. Most of them pretty much operational out of the box as is. You don't have to configure anything, use them easy. Both of them pretty easy once you learn the key bindings for them. One good thing is if you don't know the key bindings, you want to learn them. Awesome has that configuration, that pop-up dynamic pop that works pretty well for that. You always double check, make sure you look on it, find out where your key bindings are. By and large, at least so far, it seems like the key bindings are all the same, so if you don't change any key bindings on it, you just want to use what's there. Then through all the ArcoLinux Window Managers, they're pretty much the same. So yeah, new user friendly, I put 9. Now when I say new user friendly, I'm mostly talking about somebody new to window managers, not somebody new to Linux. Now you could be somebody who's new to Linux, because somebody may be a real Windows guru and they have to learn Linux, so they want to dive into the hard part of it. Window managers can be a little more difficult in general to figure and work with, although ArcoLinux does a good job of, so far that I've been able to tell, ArcoLinux does a good job of setting up the configuration files, make them usable right out of the box. So we're going to figure out as we go through the rest of these, but yeah, so that's they're user-friendly on a scale of 1 to 10, 9 being great. Now I have to say to get a 10, something that'll blow my socks off. How easy it is and how nice it works and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, some works perfectly out of the box. Now 9's a pretty big score in that case. So yeah, some I'm leaving a little room for improvement, like some just really blows me away. And I'll give it a 10, but otherwise 9 is pretty great, pretty good user friendly. That's because it has that dynamic screen, and it also has a thing if you have an error, it'll kick you back to the working copy of it. A lot of them, like Bspwm, if it doesn't work, you mess up some configuration file, then you have to have another way to get back into it. Usually that's why I always do these window managers with a desktop environment on my system. That way if I've screwed it up real royally or something, I always go back to desktop, edit files, then I can get back into it again. GUI menu OBT now. Didn't really show you that, did I know? But Awesome does have a GUI cascading style menus. Kind of minimal. No search functions or anything like that, but it does have one that you right click or you right click on the screen and you get a little menu will pop up out of it. But Bspwm doesn't have any menu at all. It's all key bindings. Now you can add menus, I think, so you get a third-party menu thing like X menu or something like that, and you can add it in, but it didn't come with any of those configurations out of the box. They're looking for one with the menu. Easiest thing to know is install Rofi on it. I think you install Rofi when you go through the main selections. Then you have to, all the Rofi keys to work as it states out of the box, which I think most of those are like Super F12. You can access your F12 key easily. Then Super F12 will work for you to get Rofi, and that'll probably the most graphical launcher you have. Key menu is a little bit more awkward, and it just gives you a string across the top. But yeah, once you get used to either one, though, you're good to go, I think, for the most part. Memory footprint, I recorded about 330 out of Awesome, about 314 out of Bspwm, so it's a little bit lighter on memory footprint, but either one's going to be lower than anything else pretty much you can get out there for the most part. Configuration language, it's written in Lua, and Bspwm is written in Bash. Key bindings are in the main configuration rc.lua file, whereas the configurations for key bindings for Bspwm is in the sxhkd rc file. List of key bindings, yes, no. Already discussed that, so you know what that's about. Bar info. I think Awesome gets 8 on that. Pretty good. Yeah, I mean, there could have been another thing or two I'd like to see up there. Namely things of like temperature. And I'm pretty sure you can add those in, but yeah, out of the box, didn't have it. And I gave 5 for Bspwm because I figured it's pretty average. I gave some of the stuff that you expected to have, but there's missing some things that things like Awesome had. So my overall score is a 9 for Awesome and 6 for Bspwm. Both are good window managers, but I think Awesome's easier to use. And it has more functionality and configurability than most than Bspwm does. Now we're going to look at CWM and DWM next week, and all the rest of them later on. So that's what I think about that. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and if you have a hankering to learn more about it, you can visit the websites down there. I'll list in the description. Until next time, may the Linux force be with you. Bye.